According to the Drake equation, there are millions of advanced civilizations in the universe. This formula calculates the approximate number of such communities by considering various factors. Even with the smallest inputs, the Drake equation asserts that there are at least millions of these intelligent colonies out there. One of these civilizations happens to be Hamsterdam. This is Tiger. It should be noted that the citizens of Hamsterdam just call him Ty. He didn't always look this spherical or ashy, but we'll get back to that later. He was quite special back in his heyday. In other words, Ty was bestowed the esteemed title of Sovereign Brodent. This honor was imparted to the most worthy hamster in every generation. Age was respected among his people, but achievement was revered. As Sovereign Brodent, Ty was the ruler of Hamsterdam. To meet this criteria, a hamster had to excel in 4 areas: looks, wealth, residence, and speed. Number 1. Looks. In Hamsterdam, the color of one's coat was the determining factor for beauty. Tan coats indicated superior health, while gray coats signified disease. Number 2. Wealth. Currency in Hamsterdam was quite different. The rich folks had enormous hoards of food, while the impoverished barely had grains. Ty was prosperous. He had everything: grains, seeds, nuts, oats, fresh vegetables, and treats. He even had a collection of rare delicacies that were reserved only for the most affluent hamsters. Number 3. Residence. The type of home one owned in Hamsterdam correlated directly to one's social status. The newborn hamsters started off in the first level, then the youngsters moved on to level 2 once they started to grow. If these youngsters seemed to cooperate with society well, they moved on to level 3. The richest hamsters of the community lived in level 4. And finally, the Sovereign Brodent resided in level 5, otherwise known as the Glass Palace. Clearly, this is where Ty lived, since he was the Sovereign Brodent of his generation. In order to leave an impressive legacy in the Glass Palace, Ty constantly renovated his home despite the arduous labor that these renovations required. It was slow and painful, but he threw himself into it like one possessed. Number 4. Speed. In Hamsterdam, the only things worth demonstrating was strength. A hamster's speed was the equivalent of a human strength in this society, so Ty learned to train tirelessly in order to become the Sovereign Brodent. The wheel never stopped turning in the Glass Palace. It was like the pulsation of his heart. By now, it seems that Ty was accustomed to this grandiose lifestyle as an alpha hamster since day 1. Surprisingly, this assumption is far from the truth. When little Tiger hatched from his egg, he was the smallest hamster out of all his peers. In fact, he was so tiny that he was often avoided by all the other newborns and eventually isolated from his age group. After being bullied and teased for weeks on end, Ty became resolved to live up to his namesake and prove his peers wrong. From that moment forward, his life had been ruled by a great passion: to become the Sovereign Brodent. Throughout his adolescence, his seclusion from the other youngsters resulted in excess, unsupervised leisure time for Ty. All the other youngsters graduated to the level 3 residence, while Ty was stagnant in the level 2 residence. He realized that he had to excel in the 4 areas of the criteria, so he did the unthinkable. Ty relied on humans. This was extremely taboo and highly punishable in Hamsterdam, but now his whole life was dominated by fear. The fear of failure and of weakness. It was not external, it lay deep within himself. So when Ty found opportunities to sneak out of his level 2 residence, he entered human houses and began to bulk up with fruits. Since fruits were a scarcity in Hamsterdam, Ty knew that stealing the nutrients would accelerate his path to becoming the sovereign Broding. Eventually, Ty flourished within his age group and worked his way up to the level 4 residence. After solving his social, financial, and physical issues, he began to train relentlessly on the wheel to become the fastest youngster of his generation. Once again, Ty relied on human resources for training. He started to climb the stairs of human houses to enrich his exercise regime. With every step he tackled, he simultaneously began to ascend the social ranking. Months later, Ty was finally nominated for Sovereign Broding, and the bitterness in his heart was now mixed with a childlike excitement. The aspirations from his youth were finally being fulfilled through his zeal, and he had long learned to lay that ghost. Ty became intolerant to inadequacy, so he never stopped running. Whenever hamsters passed by, Ty ensured that he was seen on the wheel to maintain his reputation. Without a doubt, he cherished the praise and feared regressing to his former status as an outcast. So when Ty injured a limb while running, he told himself, "A proud heart can survive a general failure because such a failure does not prick its pride." His arrogance ultimately contributed to his demise because he refused to stop training. Consequently, Ty permanently destroyed his limb to the point that he was no longer able to sprint. All at once, his dreams had been shattered and Ty fell into a depressed state. His tan coat turned gray and he became obese because he wasn't able to exercise properly. In all of Hamsterdam history, Ty became the only hamster to be demoted from his position as Sovereign Broding due to the fact that he could not adhere to the criteria. That had been his life spring, and he had all but achieved it, and everything had been broken. His fleeting reign over Hamsterdam left a deeply negative impact on the community, and the folks claim that he has put a knife on the things that held us together, and we have fallen apart. As Hamsterdam morphed into anarchy, Ty was unable to function. He hid himself in the corners and reverted to his segregated self back in his level 1 residence. Living fire begets cold, impotent ash. Ty was a flame that fueled Hamsterdam with glory. No matter how vigorous or steady his passion appeared to be, his community eventually deteriorated into ash. There is no one for whom it is well.